Patterson Foundation
strengthens people, organizations, and communities by focusing on issues that address mutual aspirations,
foster wide participation, and encourage learning and sharing.
Each day, each one of us goes
beyond the blog.
Join the journey.
Welcome to Beyond the Blog, a podcast series of the Patterson Foundation. Hi, I'm Alexa Carr, one of the fellows with the Patterson Foundation, and your host for today for a look into digital access for all. And to help me do that is the Digital Access for All Initiative Lead, Cheri Coryea. Cheri, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We're so glad you're here. So here's a little bit of context for our listeners before we begin. The Patterson Foundation's Digital Access for All, or DA4A, initiative was created in June 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, TPF realized that there was a continued need for digital access work, even as the pandemic progressed. Could you please tell us a little bit more about this continued need in Florida and beyond? Why is digital access so important?
Yeah, it is important. Most people don't just take it for granted that they have access to the internet, but we know that across the country, there's 23 million people that don't have access still, and in Florida, a large portion of that, but locally, upwards to about 10 million people in the state of Florida. So we have a lot of folks that think, I have my phone, I have my iPad, I have my laptop, I have my internet. But that's not really the way it is, especially in some of the communities that are still progressing through build out. They don't have fiber network, they have only digital.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for explaining that. It's so important to know that it goes beyond just having a phone. So in regard to that, TPF talks about digital access in terms of a stool with 3 legs. Could you tell me a little bit about this metaphor?
Yeah, this is a really exciting way to think about it, and it's very easy for people to remember. So if you think of a stool with 3 legs, there are 3 essential elements of the digital access for all, and that's connectivity, devices, skills training, and support. So the connectivity, obviously, meaning that you have access to the internet. It's something that's a regular occurrence. You don't have to worry about going somewhere else to get it. The devices, what we also have found is how important it is for people to have a device that's working, a device that can be used by multiple people in their family, and that they may have more than one. And then skills training and support is really just making sure that people know how to use those devices in the most productive way possible to elevate their education, to elevate their employment opportunities, and to be able to reach out to other resources and knowledge.
Thank you so much. And just like a stool, it's so important that all 3 of those legs are supported in kind of an equal way. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so especially let's start with connectivity. So with connectivity, we know that it's not reliable in all places. In the urban areas, there is more opportunity, but somewhat less ability for everyone to actually have access potentially through the economics. So if you think about a large number of families that we deal with, which are the ALICE families, those asset-limited, income-constrained, employed families. They're probably sitting there trying to decide, well, is the technology bill that I just got from Comcast or Spectrum what I can continue to pay for, or do I need food? I need milk, I need bread, I need diapers, I need, things for my children and my family. So, that's a real struggle out there. So the connectivity side of it is so important for the TPF group. We have created a program called The Gap, and it's really to outreach to those people that are underserved, that don't have access, and to help them find the lowest cost but the highest quality so that all members of their family, not just students or one person there in their family, has connectivity. When it comes to devices, we have a great partner locally with the Sarasota Technology Users Group. It's a nonprofit organization that collects old computers, either laptops, they do tablets, they also do smartphones, and they refurbish those and get those back out into the community to people that need them. So it's a really great source to have. We've done some collections for them, and actually you can find them on their website where they have refurbished over 20,000 pieces of equipment since they started. And then lastly, skills training support. Again, what do you do when you get one of these refurbished devices, or when you get a device that's sent home from school? If the student might know how to use it, but other family members that help them may not have any idea how to use Word, Excel, or anything that might help them. And so all of that work that's being done to help make sure that those folks are connected to different organizations and different education opportunities so that they can elevate their skill set is really the big effort that the Digital Access for All initiative is working on.
Thank you so much for sharing about such important initiatives like the GAP and such important community partnerships like Sarasota Technology Users Group. So as a TPF consultant, I know you are very aware of the TPF values and tenets. So this initiative, Digital Access for All, is so intrinsically connected to the TPF tenet of cope, adapt, innovate. Could you speak on this connection?
Oh, yes. This is so important, too. I mean, this tenet of the Patterson Foundation is involved in so many things that we all work on, coping, adapting, and innovating. And you know, you heard earlier when Alexa, when you talked about how the initiative started, you know, it was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that was really that coping mechanism of a prior initiative lead, Dr. Lori Stryker, here with the Patterson Foundation, who stepped back and said, well, will everyone have access like a person who works for an employer that has technology? Will students and families have access? And so by looking into that, one of the things for the coping mechanism was to really try to identify where those gaps were. The adapting part of making those tenets connected to the Patterson Foundation is really looking for all different options. So when I talked about making connectivity and devices available, that adaptation is really more about making sure that we are always watching for the new concepts, new ideas, how things can be connected, and making sure that people are aware of those resources and can adapt to those new elements. And then innovating, a really neat and innovating idea in two areas that the Patterson Foundation's Digital Access for All initiative worked on was one, our Digital Navigator program. And so as you know, as we're talking about those three essential elements, we determined that there really wasn't a good curriculum for a digital navigator, meaning a person who can help anyone, help a family member, help someone, a senior even, who doesn't know how to use the internet to find the type of connectivity that they can have to research those different opportunities, the lowest cost, the highest quality, also to be able to know what kind of services are out there, how to find devices, because maybe the Sarasota Technology Users Group isn't the only place that a person would want to go or could go. And then lastly, with skills training and support, it's really difficult to know, where you can find that, especially if you're an Alice family and you want it free or low cost. So in that regard, we've been working on a project for many, many years since the beginning of the initiative called the Matrix. Mm-hmm. And that matrix identifies in our 4-county region the places that have those three essential elements and at what level. So obviously libraries really stand out as a place that you can go to get access and somewhat training as well. So there are other nonprofit organizations like the Women's Resource Center, the Multicultural Health Institute, Goodwill Minnesota, Easter Seals, and various other groups that have become digital navigators through our training program and now are there to help people. So that's another way to innovate. And then I'll mention too would be the GAP program again. And what that really does from an innovation standpoint is it puts TPF engagers out in the community at places where people and families are coming to, let's say, a festival or even a back to school night or even some kind of a different festivity, like in a park, and it's getting information to them right where they live, talking to them about their internet access and making sure that they're aware that there are options. So, we really in this initiative have really grasped those three areas of cope, adapt, and innovate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So going on the Innovate a little bit more, what are some of the aspirations of Digital Access for All initiative this year?
Well, some of the really neat things that have happened out of this Digital Access for All initiative is that while we are focused in our region, our 4-county region, Charlotte, DeSoto, Manatee, and Sarasota counties, we also had expanded a national philanthropy scan report. And the reason that was important and how it's important to where we're currently at is that from the philanthropy standpoint, we were always wondering, does philanthropy know where their role in digital access might be? And what we found in a study that we did with back in 2022 by interviewing over 40 different organizations, corporate responsibility offices of various large organizations and other foundations across the country, it was difficult for them to determine where they might end up being the most beneficial, let's say in those three essential elements. Do they help with connectivity? Do they help by providing devices? What happens when, there needs to be skills training? And so that National Philanthropy Scan allowed us to connect with over 400 different people across the country in 8 different workshops that were focused on these types of areas of the three essential elements. More precise to the current, what we're finding, Alexa, is that the skills training and support area is the area for the biggest need in 2024. While we've found ways to connect people and we found ways for helping people get devices, now our focus is really shifting to where can they get the skills training and support. Because I think, as you can imagine, almost all companies now are doing virtual interviews. And can you imagine not, being able to take an interview because 1, you don't have a device, or 2, you don't know how to actually do a virtual interview. As well, a lot of testing for employment opportunities is happening online, where you're taking a test that will get you to the next level in an interview, and we have so many people that aren't even able to know how to do that. So this skills training and support is really a big focus for this next year.
Absolutely. It is so clear how that is incredibly important as more and more things become online, more things become digital in the workforce, and well beyond that as well. Cheri, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we should highlight today?
I think I'd love to highlight that we have a monthly newsletter. Our Digital Access for All initiative has a great newsletter where we have a fantastic team on this initiative that keeps up with both the current information that's locally, but also because there was an effort in 2021 under the infrastructure bill from the administration in Washington, D.C. that was expanding internet access. Now it's going through a few iterations, and we're trying to make sure that people know across our region and beyond what those are. And so we keep a very strong connection with organizations like the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, who is really out there advocating for broadband and internet access for everyone, and then also with the state and federal programs under that infrastructure bill to make sure that the communities know what's available. So I think the newsletter would be a really good way, actually good and quick way for people to stay abreast of what's happening, both as an initiative here with the Patterson Foundation in our region, statewide, and then also across the country. And then we have a lot of really informative blog posts that happen from the team that also make sure, and it tells people about what's currently happening. So I think that would be a great thing for people to be a part of. And to do that, all you really need to do is go on our website, at the Patterson Foundation. Find our Digital Access for All initiative. Scroll to the bottom of that page, and you'll find a place where you can actually subscribe.
Absolutely. Cheri, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Listeners, as Cheri said, to learn more and stay tuned, please visit the Digital Access for All page on thepattersonfoundation.org. Thank you.
Listeners, thanks for joining us beyond the blog.